Any other offense in the league
good.
that is competent wins half of those games at least. I mean, those are all. If you're being held, they've held their opponent to 20 or fewer points 4 times this year, and they're 1-3 in those games. I was talking yesterday with JT on the Hot Read podcast. Go check it out, about our soft pitch softball rec co-ed league we play in the summer. Very important to us.
I've already listened to this once. I don't even.
I know, but the other people haven't. So shut up and listen, because other people have not.
All
right. There's a lot of games where we're in the powwow afterwards trying to figure out how we lost, and folks are pointing to errors here on the defense, and the pitching wasn't that great, and we should have walked that guy. We knew he was going to hit a homer. And I have to tell everybody, hey, listen, guys, we scored 7 runs. I don't care how good or bad the defense was. The offense didn't do enough to win the game, no matter how well we played on defense.
That's bad in softball. 7 runs. I'm honestly asking.
In soft pitch, you need about 15 runs minimum to win soft pitch softball games. Yeah. It's a game of.
So you guys have a Titans level of offense, is what you're saying.
Well, on certain games, no, we were fine, but there are certain games where the bats don't show up. You know how baseball goes. And so that's the story of every Titans game this year. It's like the defense.
No, it's not. No, it's
not.
Yes,
it is. Yes, it is. The defense is good enough to win games, and the offense didn't do anything.
That's completely not true. The Indianapolis Colts lined up, punched the Titans in the face, and ran the football down their throats the entire game.
I think that's the one.
The Baltimore Ravens started. Now, hang on. The Baltimore Ravens started on the first drive with X plays, second drive X plays, third drive.
Baltimore went on to score 1 billion points against 2 better teams than the Titans the next 2 weeks. The Titans defense played so well against Baltimore. That's such a good offense.
100. They are. They're very good. I understand context.
24 points to that Ravens offense.
They are 31st in the NFL in takeaways. They've given up 143 yards rushing on average.
Yeah.
Over the last 5 games. That's 5 consecutive games.
And they've given their offense a chance to win in every game but one this year.
The Browns game, I will say, was equal parts offense and defense. That was, to me, equal parts.
Nothing worked. Yeah, nothing worked.
That was equal parts terrible. I'm not blaming any one thing. That's like the whole
I would actually blame the offense more because of the fact the defense was on the field so long. How do you not give up so many
True,
points?
But they also quit. So that's my opinion. But I can go down the list.
The game was over.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. You again, 11 plays, 90 yards when you have a lead in the fourth quarter and the defense couldn't stop the run. I am not saying that they aren't better than the offense. I'm not saying that the offense isn't a bigger concern. The offensive line is the worst part of the team. And it is the reason this team is going to be whatever it is at the end of the season, is because the offensive line is terrible. I am not arguing that.
So what are you arguing?
But to suggest that this,
what are you arguing? Just to be super clear,
that people like the fans and you are overvaluing the talent on this defense. And you said something on the Hot Read podcast that I wanted to bring up, because I don't believe, number one, I don't believe in this whole defense is so sick and tired of the offense, and so there's tension behind the scenes. Number one, you get paid millions of dollars to ignore that tension.
I don't buy that yet either.
You get paid millions of dollars to ignore the tension and do your fucking job. That's why you are a professional athlete. So I don't care about any of that shit. Don't tell me that the offense and defense can't get along in the locker room. You get paid millions of dollars, get along. It's your job.
I'm sure they're frustrated, but they get paid to not be, right?
Sure. Well, guess what? Don't give up 143 yards rushing per game. How about you pressure the fucking quarterback and maybe create a turnover? Because you haven't done any of that shit the entire season. So the defense
so again, I ask, what's your
just as much on the hook. Here is...
So you're saying that it's the defense's fault for this season just as much as the offense?
I'm saying not the Tampa Bay game.
I'm talking about the season. And saying this season, the results of this season so far are as much to do about the defense being bad as the offense. This is going to sound very Vrabelish, and I don't mean it to be. Okay. But we're all guilty. Okay.
Everyone can do better. We all could be better. Everybody,
right?
Like, so if you want to go specifically, I think the Saints' loss is on Ryan Tannehill and the offense. That's not on the defense. That absolutely are more of the losses on the offense. 100%. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that they're equal.
I think every loss is on the offense besides Indianapolis.
I think
even then it's equal parts.
The defense has not been very good statistically in almost any category other than points allowed, which is what you're saying, and I get that.
But there's a difference between not very good and absolutely good enough to win. There's a difference.
I agree. But what I'm saying is that they have not been good enough. When you can't stop the run, you
can't
pressure.
That's what I just said, that they have been good enough.
Dude, you have to do one of 3 things.
Okay.
In football to be good. at defense. You have to stop the run. You have to pressure the quarterback. You have to cover people. And right now they aren't doing.
You missed one. You have to not allow points. You have to not
they,
allow points. That's how you're good. Is you don't allow points. Who cares how you get there? If you don't allow points, who
Mike
cares?
Evans dropped a pass, and that's why they
don't
give
allow
up 27
points. Who cares how you got there? If you're a defense, your job is to keep the other team from scoring points. They're doing that enough to win, and the Titans offense is losing games. They're losing the games.
I'm not denying that the offense is worse. That's not my argument.
So
Let me
what
ask
is your point here? What is the argument?
That the whole team sucks.
Well, no one's disagreeing with you on that, Braden. That's not the point. That's not what we're arguing here.
I want to get into a smarter conversation about this because you said something on the hot read, and I think this is ultimately the question. You said also Easton doing you are channeling your inner Zach. I do appreciate.
I'm trying, yeah.
So you said
fucking break, Braden.
There you go. We got it in. Go to Sickers, go to Kingston Group. We do appreciate you guys. Boom Boss as well. Go check them out. Free shout. You said something, and I can't remember exact context, but I thought it was the most interesting thing that we could discuss. And that was, you said, I think they're still doing the same stuff because you were discussing the impact of Jim Schwartz leaving with Shane Bowen. Is there, and I do think there's an impact there. I don't know how you can quantify it, but I think Jim Schwartz is a very good defensive mind. So not having him around, I think, is a negative. How much? I have no clue. I don't think anyone,
right?
I don't think anyone can.
Of course,
but if they are,
you lost a guy.
If you said that sentence about a quarterback or an offensive coordinator or an offense, immediately all of you people in the comments, all you great, wonderful fans will be like, you got to evolve, you got to change, you got to do new shit. That is that's the thing we say about offenses all the time. Oh, they're running the same things. They're running the same routes. They're doing the same this. They're doing the same that. You got to change. You put stuff on tape. You got to evolve. And if the Titans for 3 straight years are doing the same stuff, and it has led to what is statistically their worst defense, what is talent-wise their worst defense, it's not working either. So I don't buy this Titans offense, defense, tension in the locker room, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't buy that. I think it is a combination of everything. It's a combination of losing Schwartz. It's a combination of aging veterans not performing. It's a combination of young players not developing. It's a combination of not changing your scheme and doing the same stuff for 3 straight years. It's not having any middle linebackers that are truly great players. Like it's Danico Autry getting older, TR Tart being hurt. Like we can go down the list. I'm not ignoring any of the context here, but like it's not a good defense.
Okay.
They could be. I think your point is right. They are not playing up to their potential. I don't think that the potential is as high as we, and I'll include myself, thought it was in the preseason. Sean Murphy Bunting is a nice player. Arden Key is a nice player. Azeez Al-Shaair is a nice player.
I disagree.
And if you don't get development from your young guys, this is why I want to watch Roger McCreary the rest of the year, because I want to see if he belongs as a star or a starter in the defense. Like Amani Hooker's not had a better season. TR Tart's not had a better season. No one has gotten better. And you got rid of Kevin Byard. Doesn't mean much on the field other
Roger
than
McCreary's gotten better, by the way. But
I would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah. I think Christian Fulton, after a bizarre first month, has shown progress.
Well, when you set the bar 7 feet below the surface of the earth, then it's hard not to. A couple of things here. I think that you're totally right that I did say a very interesting thing. I'm glad that we're talking about interesting things that I said. I totally get what you're saying about how you could spin the fact that they're doing the same thing schematically into, well, they need
that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing.
I disagree a little bit because they are, and this is, I don't want to get too much into the minutia and like the tape and scheme and all these things that are going to go over a lot of people's heads. And even I don't fully understand all the time, but they are, to me, and to folks much smarter than me, this is what's important, folks that I talk to about these things that are much smarter than me, who I go to make sure I'm not crazy about these things. The things that they're doing defensively are largely the correct things, the situations, the positions they're putting the players in. It's the right thing to do, and they're just not executing. So I don't think it's like, I get that eventually you've got to try something different, and that's what you're saying, and there's validity to that, totally. But there's only so much you can do from the sidelines if the players aren't going to execute. Like, if this Titans offense which people have been yelling forever about. Like evolve. Like let's be an aerial attack offense, spread it out, be creative, like do things that creative teams do. If hypothetically Tim Kelly turned into the most innovative, creative head coach in the league, started pulling out all these kinds of plays that are fantastic and innovative and things that you'd never seen before, and it's like, wow, that's so clever. And the players were just dog shit at executing, it would turn into a lot of like, he's getting too cute, like he's got it, get back to basics. Clearly these guys can't handle it. That's kind of where I think this defense is, where if they tried a bunch of different shit, it would then the narrative would go from you need to innovate, you need to try something different, to quit trying to get so cute, get back to basics, because they're not executing.
Probably
it doesn't matter. They're not executing.
No, you're probably right. My the reason I would agree with you is because I don't think they're very good. And that's my argument. That is my argument. That and some of you guys have said this in the comments, and I forget.
But I'm not, just to be super clear, I'm not disagreeing that they're not playing very good. We disagree that they can't be. I think we disagree on how good they could be. I'm much more on the they're underperforming train. You're much more on the they're just not good train. Is that correct? You think that's fair?
It's not even like I'm probably in between those two things, honestly, because
it's a little bit of both. Okay,
and some of it is my own personal perception of where this defense could have been. I'll use Elijah Molden as a perfect example here, because he's a player that I really liked coming out of college. I really liked getting to talk to him and see how he handled himself as a professional very early on.
So passive aggressive, Logan. I hate you for this. The first time. It
is pretty passive aggressive.
This guy.
Elijah Molden is sort of like the microcosm of the defense for me personally, because of my perception of him developing and growing into what I think could be a starting, plays every snap, leader of the defense kind of guy, great tackler, physical, smart, IQ, the whole deal.
Sure.
Maybe doesn't have a perfect position on a defense, but in modern football that wants to be out in space.
The package is there.
Exactly. And he has not become that. And I think that is the overwhelming theme of almost the entire team. And this is ultimately my point. Not that the defense is bad or terrible.
Can I just clarify one quick thing? Are you saying he's not become that as in he's never been that? Or are you saying he's not playing up to that level? Because I would argue he has been that in the past. I mean, I'm old enough to remember a season in which people were saying the Titans might have the two best safeties in the league back there in Amani Hooker and Kevin Byard. They're playing out of their minds. I think he's been that guy before, and he's currently not playing like that guy.
Yes, now you've switched to Amani Hooker. I was talking about Elijah Molden, but that's okay.
Sorry. This is me not paying attention. Very sorry.
No, but you know what? Hooker's like kind of the same
deal, right? Yeah. With Molden, I agree that he's not gotten there. My fault.
Right. My fault. And he's like a young player who never established the fact that he should be a starter when I thought he was going to be a starter.
I'm on the same page.
And an impact player, not a star, but like an impact player made plays that you can depend on being where he's supposed to be to do his job every single time. And I thought this guy's built from the same, all the stuff is there for him to be that player. He has not. And I was wrong about that, like that so far. Now he could be better next year, and that could be it. Ultimately, my point on all of this is not that it's one person's fault or the other. It's that I think that the defense against Tampa, I can point to some stats. Again, they got some good pressure in the first half. I think they played very well in the first half, kept him in the game, gave him a chance to win. The offense was terrible. The offense was the reason they lost the game. I'm okay with talking about the Tampa game like that. I'm okay with talking about the Saints game probably like that as well. But again, the Bucs were excellent on third down on offense in the second half. Baker Mayfield, almost 10 yards per attempt. And they finished drives with touchdowns, and Mike Evans dropped a wide open touchdown. So it could have actually been worse from a point standpoint. And what I'm saying is that the reason the Titans are where they are on the whole, the reason they are 3-6, looking at 3-7 and being in last place with one of the worst records in the AFC
is largely the offense.
Is not just because of the offense.
I did see this is where we're just going to disagree.
No, it's a whole roster problem, because I like some of the young pieces on offense that I think are proving that they belong.
But I agree with what you just said,
in an NFL team.
I agree with what you just said, though.
I don't know on the defense who has guaranteed themselves, forget contract status, guaranteed themselves a starting role in which they are going to be a very good player for this team next year. And I am, again, it is better than the offense. I am trying to point out, in an effort to say, like, take a step back as a fan, lower your expectations, is that it's not just offensive line. Traylon Burks and Chikakakwo, major problems this year. They should have been better. We expected them to be better. I thought they were going to be better. I'm wrong. They're not better. Chig dropped a touchdown. right in the end zone there that would have made it a different game potentially.
Actually, volleyball set a touchdown up for an interception.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like Kyle Phillips is showing some life in these last 2 games. I like that. Let's see what else. Maybe use him more. But
Tajay Spears a dog. Love Tajay Spears. I should have mentioned him. I think he's a dude and should be a starter on other teams too, by the way.
Yes, he would be, but he's not the starting running back for like he's not better than what the Chiefs have right now. Maybe he will be.
Oh, than Isaiah Pacheco? Give him a year. He's better than Isaiah Pacheco.
I think that's fair in a year. Yeah. Okay. What I'm saying is that you've found some guys. Almost all of them are on offense. You have not found a lot of pieces for the future on defense this year. And I want
to be fair, I want to see more of that. The defense is largely the same. So like, yeah, they found like you're talking about if we're talking raw number of dudes, sure, but the hit rate on guys you actually changed and brought into the lineup versus you get what I'm saying? Because like the defense it's largely bringing over last year's defense.
We can do it. It's Sean Murphy Bunting, Gibbons, right. Azeez Al-Shaair, Arden Key. Those
Gibbons
4.
He was playing,
but he wasn't like
at the end of the year. He was.
Well, so was Monty Rice. So was Monty Rice. Anyway, let's move. Like my issue is about looking at the big picture and looking at the whole 53, and then saying to like I find this easy to do as a Preds fan. Like they're just not very good, but they've got a lot of young players. That to me should relieve pressure on watching the games on Sundays, if that makes sense. Like. To me, it's like I'm going to watch, and this is about we're going to get to Levis. We've got to talk about Will Levis, but no other show's having this conversation. So
what if we just did a full hour?
Sinkers Beverages
and mention Will Levis.
Sinkers Beverages in the Kickster group. We'll get to Will Levis.
Can I say one last thing before we get to Levis? And you can go ahead, but let me get one. You want me to go? Okay.
Because I got one more. I got one transition piece here that's more the coaching.
I don't want to. I'm happy to move here. Just in general, I want to point out that. And the part of this is I was arguing with folks about these things and about the Mike Vrabel hot seat thing and all of this on Twitter earlier this morning. And part of the reason I love shows like this and like the Hot Read podcast and like F Words and like Music's the Audible and all of our lovely shows here on the 440 Podcast Network. Check them all out. Much more than I like traditional sports media, the empty calories sports media that we intentionally tried to avoid here on these shows is because nothing in life, but in sports in particular, in this instance, is black and white ever. No exceptions. And where I'm kind of people listening to this show are probably like, what is Easton talking about at times today? Because half the time I'm saying I completely disagree with you. And then later in the sentence, I'm like, no, but I agree with what you just said.
The only black and white thing is the argument you're making. The scoreboard. That's the only black and white part.
That part is black and white. Yes. And so there is a difference. There are two different arguments here. There is an argument of is unit X or player X good or bad? Like, let's try to put them in a bucket of are they playing well or are they playing bad? That's one argument. The other argument is player X or unit X playing well enough to win? That's the black and white thing. And what I'm arguing with the defense is they are playing well enough to win. The offense is letting them down. Maybe the offense has found more dudes. If you want to argue that, fine, whatever. Don't care. The offense is letting them down. The defense is playing good enough to win in all but one game this year, in my opinion. More of the argument you're making, which I totally understand, and I agree with you largely, is that, like you said a minute ago when I said, I agree with what you just said, this team's not very good. Yeah, the defense isn't very good. Yeah, they're underperforming to expectations. Yeah, that's true and that's fair. There's a difference, right? Between they're not playing up to the level we think they can play at, or they're actually not really playing above average.
Yeah,
but they are playing good enough to win.